Welcome to another episode. The question is, what are responsibility and accountability? Today's question is, what are responsibility and accountability? Both words, responsibility and accountability, are used interchangeably. The meaning is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over someone. The state or a fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over someone. But if you want to understand the deeper meaning, then let us see. We have seen the simple meaning which answers the question. It is to have to deal with someone or have control over someone or something. It's a duty. That is responsibility and accountability. But let us go further, deeper into what it means. First is from Osho's J.Krishnamurti's Letters to Schools. And a wholly different way of living. From these two books of J. Krishnamurti, you will see some lines. The word responsibility should be understood in all its significance. It's a significant word. It comes from the word respond. To respond not partially, but wholly. When you take responsibility for something, you don't respond partially. You respond wholly. The word also implies refer back, respond to your background, which is to refer back to your conditioning. Responsibility is action, as it is generally understood, of one's own human conditioning, one's culture, society in which one lives. Naturally condition the mind, the society in which one lives, the culture, they all condition the mind. Whether the culture is native or foreign. From this background one responds, and response limits our responsibility. Normally how we respond with the background of our conditioning, the conditioning due to society and culture. With that background we respond, not completely, we respond with that background. If one is born in India, Europe, America or whatever, one's response will be according to religious superstition. All religions are superstitious structures, or nationalism, or scientific theories. So, if one respond, they respond according to their own culture's superstitious structures or religions you follow, or a nationalism, or some scientific theory. These condition one's response, and they are always limited, finite, and so there is always contradiction, conflict, and arising of confusion. So when you respond with this background of culture, nationalism or religion, then there is always contradiction which brings about conflict and confusion. This is inevitable, and it brings about division between human beings. Division in any form must bring about not only conflict and violence, but ultimately war. If one understands the actual meaning of the word responsible and what goes on in this world today, one sees that responsibility has become irresponsible. So we have become irresponsible, not responsible. In understanding what is irresponsible, we begin to comprehend what is responsibility. Responsibility is for the whole, as the word implies, not for oneself, not for one's family, not for some concepts or beliefs, but for the whole of mankind. Being responsible for implies a direction, a directed will, but the feeling of responsibility implies responsibility for everything, not in any direction, any particular direction. Responsible for education, responsible for politics, responsible for the way we are live, to be responsible for my behavior. It is total feeling of complete responsibility which is the ground in which action takes place. So when the feeling of responsibility exists, all this disappears. You are responsible for your behavior, for the way you bring your children, for the way you treat a dog, a neighbor, nature, everything is in your hands. Therefore, you have to become astonishingly careful about what you do. Careful, not I must not do this, I must do that. Care, that means affection, that means consideration, diligence. All that goes with responsibility, which present society totally denies. Present society does not take responsibility. Next, we will see a few lines from Osho, from his two books, Satchit Anand and Truth Consciousness Bliss. But responsibility to your parents, responsibility to your wife, responsibility to your husband, responsibility to your children. Perhaps you have never thought about it. If you love your children, there is no question of responsibility. Because you love, you do things, you enjoy doing them. Nobody can enjoy responsibility. It is too big word. No, responsibility is very heavy. It's a big word. Nobody enjoys it. It comes with a burden. If you are educating your children, it is your responsibility or your love. If it is love, then there is no question of any burden. You are not doing something reluctantly, in spite of yourself, just because it has to be done. But you are concerned about respectability, what others will say. You will be condemned. So you have to take care of your old parents out of responsibility, not out of love. Love is completely forgotten because love needs a revolution in your consciousness. It is not as cheap as responsibility. Responsibility can be taught to you by the priests, by the teachers, but nobody can teach you love. You have to find love yourself within your being by raising your consciousness to higher levels. And when love comes, there is no question of responsibility. You do things because you enjoy doing them for the person you love. You are not obliging the person. You don't want anything in return, not even gratitude. On the contrary, you are grateful that the person has allowed you to do something for you. It was your joy, sheer joy. Love knows nothing of responsibility. It does many things. It is very creative. It shares all that it has, but it is not responsibility. Remember, responsibility is an ugly word in comparison to love. Love is natural. Responsibility is created by the cunning priest. Politicians who want to dominate you in the name of God, in the name of nation, in the name of family, in the name of religion, any fiction will do. But they don't talk about love. On the contrary, because they are unable to control love. They are all against love. A man of love acts out of his own heart, not according to any moral code. A man of love will not join the army because it is his responsibility to fight for the nation. A man of love will say there is no nations, there is no question of any fight. So if you have love, then there is no fighting. There is no responsibility. It is not according to some rule or a moral code, but out of genuine love you are doing it. So that is much more than taking responsibility. So here we have seen J. Krishnamurti's way of explaining the things, how to wholly respond to a situation, not only a situation, wholly responsible for the humankind, the world, not only your parents or wife or children, but how you act, you respond to the whole humanity, being responsible for that. Your every act determines that. Then we have seen Osho's interpretation, explanation, in which he says, this is out of love. You respond. Because responsibility comes with the word responsibility comes with the burden. And when you respond with love, there is no burden. You educate your children or look after your old parents out of love, not out of some moral code or duty. So that is how he explained the things. So with this, we will end this episode. Stay with me for another episode. Subscribe to my channel. Share this video. Thank you.